What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So after, let me get myself situated here. I should have already done that. After yesterday's events, or I'm sorry, not yesterday's events, Wednesday's events. Yesterday I went over the shooting of Charlie Kirk. I had some other videos about political violence. My mind went blank for a second. And also about concerns over social media and stuff like that. Anyway, we all did that yesterday. I told you that I was going to keep you up to date as soon as I had any kind of if something happened, if the shooter suspect was captured or whatever, and what we found out from him. Early reports, I've been looking over this for about an hour or more, because I felt like there was some mixing up of information going on. So I wanted to make sure that I had as close to an accurate description, information that I could give you without just saying something and then it coming back as ridiculous. So, all right. What we do know is the suspect name was Tyler Robinson. He's a 22-year-old from Utah. And let me swap over here. Okay. This is from ABC News. Authorities have taken into custody the person who they suspect of shooting and killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk on Wednesday. He was 22. He was taken into custody, St. George, Utah, on Friday. Authorities said, before that starts, Robinson's father. Okay, what happened? Robinson's father recognized him. I think his name is Matt or something like that. He recognized him from the pictures that he was seeing, photographs and stuff that authorities were showing. And he basically, it sounds like he confronted Tyler about the incident. And Tyler confessed. He tried to urge him to turn himself in. From my understanding, Tyler then said something to the fact of he'd rather kill himself than to turn himself in. The father wound up calling a family friend who could or could not be potentially a pastor, or at least somebody affiliated with a local community church or something, to try to talk with Tyler and calm him down, and keep him from, doing something like that. Then the pastor from what I understand, things have been all kinds of mixy, but what it looks like to me, the pastor then called a local, either a local sheriff department personnel, who then contacted FBI, or the pastor himself contacted somebody that he knew in the FBI. I don't know which one it was. It's one of the two. Either way, FBI was contacted, and the father and the pastor apparently, kept Tyler calm and confined until FBI was able to get there and take him into custody. Now, that's as best that I can get as far as what happened there. They have information, supposedly from some Discord messaging and stuff, that either they partially recovered from Discord. Discord had already taken down his profile, probably and arguably prematurely. Quoting that they took it down because of a violation, term violation, or outside use, activity or whatever. There should probably be some argument there that in the case of something like this, there should be a period in which the almost like you would line off where something that an incident like this has happened or whatever, and people can't get into it while they investigate, and then whatever. There should be like a period, I think, on any kind of social media outlet where so many hours, 48, 72 hours, whatever you want to say, accounts should be like froze, but not like deleted. They should be accessible to law enforcement investigations and whatnot. I don't know. And maybe that is for some and not for others. I don't know. But Discord, apparently, from what I saw, they deleted it, but gave information that the only information they said that there was no contact on there that would give any information about like the shooting or anything prior to the shooting. The only thing that they said was any kind of evidence was they stated that there was communications between Tyler and a friend on the Discord, which I think the friend has been questioned and confirmed or something like that, that he basically gave communication to a friend about a drop point for the weapon. That it was dropped in some grass or trees or something like that, and some reports are saying a wooded area. Basically, where he dropped it to go back and get it later, because he didn't want to be seen walking through, like, I guess, the town or area that he would be going through with a weapon. And that's the only thing that they have there. Let's see here. As far as any kind of prior information, we know that the family, I have here a site, this from Newsweek. Basically, the family, they lived in kind of the southwestmost corner of the state. The family, his mother Amber Jones, father Matt Robinson. The family owned a 6-bedroom home in the suburbs, valued at around a little over $600,000. So not a fairly decent, I would assume, at least current family, pretty decent family conditioning, for the most part, at least just living wise. Kirk was okay. Never mind. Let's pass by that. The mother was worked for Intermountain Support Coordination Services, which basically is a group that the state, I think, hires out or whatever, contracts out or whatever, helps individuals with with disabilities obtain care. And it doesn't really, there's been no like revelation of any kind of political like affiliation with the mother. The father is a registered Republican voter, but he was, of course, the one that contacted authorities about his son. There is some question here. Some are reporting that he was a 27-year veteran of the Washington County Sheriff's Department, but I think I've seen reports where the Sheriff's Department has said that the victim was not related to anyone that was affiliated with the Sheriff's Department, that there are multiple Tyler Robinsons in the area, and this is also going to come in with something else that was reported. So there's apparently maybe some mix-up going on between some Tyler Robinsons that apparently lives right down the road from him also. I don't know if this is like a family relative as well, or I mean, I would assume, I don't know. Who knows? But let's see here. Yeah, because it said the individual arrested is not related to Washington County Law Enforcement. That's what the office wrote, that there were multiple people in the same names, whatever. We know that he had two brothers that are a little bit younger than him. He at one Tyler at one for one semester apparently did attend Utah State University, but from my understanding, it was not the campus that the shooting happened at. That Charlie Kirk was doing his event at. He was currently enrolled at a trade school, a trade college, trying to become an electrician, I believe. So that's for the most part what we know. There are reports about there are, from what it looks like to me, because there are recent reports of apparently some conversation happening amongst the family at a dinner where Tyler and apparently maybe some other members of the family at the table were talking in conversation about how they didn't, like, it came up that Charlie Kirk was going to be at the university, and it was conversation about how they like some of them at least particularly didn't really like Charlie Kirk. Was quote unquote spewing hate and misinformation. So they're clearly at current. It seemed like he had some issues with the maybe potentially the Republican movement or MAGA movement, or potentially from what it looks like, there may have been a history early on that, because his father's Republican, there's a possibility that his father may have been on the camp of Trump. There's a picture here that you see where this is supposed to be Tyler with a Halloween costume of him like sitting on Trump's shoulders. I don't know if this was like a supportive move at the time, or if it was more, I don't know, maybe some kind of ironic thing, or I don't know. I have no clue what was really behind this. It does show that he also had early pictures. This was him seemingly getting some kind of scholarship to Utah. Let's see here. There are some pictures somewhere up in here where it shows him with some guns. Let me try to find it. Like some where he apparently has like, yeah, right here. This is apparently a little bit like a while ago or something, when he was a little bit younger. So he did have some fascination with some high-powered weaponry. Here's another one of him a little bit younger, supposedly. And this was pulled off of Facebook, apparently from the mother's Facebook. So, yeah. There were inscriptions, I think, potentially on the gun, but also on the shell casings and stuff, with some different inscriptions that very much come off as anti-fascist. There was one that literally said, "Hey, fascist, catch." One that said, "Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao," which is apparently an Italian folk song, Bella Ciao, which originated as an anti-fascist anthem sung by Italian partisans during World War II, and has since become kind of a global symbol of resistance against oppression. So there's that. He also had There was one that had the statement, notices, comma, bulges, comma, OWO, which is kind of a cutesy wow face emoji kind of lettering. And then what's this? So it could be that this was a parody of a meme phrase often used to mock exaggerated anime style flirtation or role play. In this case, the suspect seems to have used it ironically or provocatively, blending absurd internet humor with violent intent, potentially to confuse, provoke, or make a statement. It's a disturbing juxtaposition using a playful meme in a deadly context. This contrast may have been part of the suspect's intent shock value. So he could have been playing. He was apparently very smart. His school grades, from what I understand, he was in the upper percentile. Like most of his grades were all in the upper, like 100 percentile. One of them was in the 90 something percent. I don't know. It like, is it as far as his grades, like averages, I guess. So apparently he was a very smart kid. I've even saw somewhere or heard somewhere that he potentially may have had some possibly autism or something. Not sure about that one. Don't hold me to that one. And matter of fact, there's been other things that have come out that apparently are wrong. Like, for instance, there was reporting early on that, or once they found him, that he donated to Trump campaign at one point. That has come out as false. Apparently, there is another Tyler Robinson, like we stated, that who is the one who actually sent contributions to the Trump campaign. That it looked, from what they understood, the Tyler Robinson that did the shooting never donated to any campaign. He was registered as nonpartisan. He also seemed to he also apparently was, as far as the state was concerned, inactive for his, even though he had registered to vote. Apparently he has not voted in the last two voting campaigns or whatever. So, which I'm assuming would be 2024 and possibly 2021, even though he reportedly registered in 2021, I think, but apparently he didn't vote even though he registered. I don't know. Or maybe it was talking about 22, or 2020, I guess, rather, not 21. So maybe 22 and 24, I guess that's the two we're talking about here. That he apparently wasn't active in those votes. So it looks to be that there potentially was a time when he may have considered himself conservative, probably just in the sense that the family seems to be somewhat conservative. There's, like I said, nothing has come out yet as far as like how much they're affiliated to any particular person or anything or campaign or whatnot. But at some point there seems to have been a flip in Tyler's political opinions. Here, it has been stated that here recently he was becoming more and more politically motivated. So, and it's kind of conflicting because apparently there was also interviews with old friends, like from high school, a couple of friends, and they all were stating that he was always a nice kid, never seemed to really get angry at anybody or start anything with anybody. It was also one that claimed that he never talked about guns, never mentioned guns. So that's conflicting, especially with images of him like with these, major military weaponry, if which look like it's like at an event that he's like just looking at them. Not necessarily that they in any way like own them or anything. The weapon that was used for the shooting was a rifle, an older model, Mauser 30 Alt 6 caliber bolt action rifle, with a scope, and that was what he used. Again, he dropped it and wrapped it in a towel. That's how it was found. But from what I understand, and the FBI is in Kash Patel, they were acting as if they, that this was amazing that he was caught within like I think 23 hours or 33 hours, something like that. Like that, this was a huge deal and they did such a good job. But from my understanding, it looks to me like if it wasn't for the family, he very well would not have been caught. Because all they had was some footprints. Apparently they had a paw print, but he would have probably never been caught because unless he's in the system, he doesn't have a military background. It doesn't appear that he has any type of background, like as far as any kind of arrest or anything like that. So there's very good chance that they may have never found him. I don't know. But luckily, his father reached out, and between the father and the pastor, that was further reached out to get the information to FBI and take him into custody. So, what's going to happen now? That's yet to be seen. Previously, the governor of Utah, stated very firmly about how the state still had the death penalty and that they were going to, he would be tried and convicted. And if convicted to the fullest extreme of the law. So I don't know how much that will be held up to. Trump, when he talked about it on the, I think, Fox and Friends morning show or whatever, stated that he hoped that the death penalty was going to be brought up. So I don't know. We're going to see. I'm sure that there will be plenty of coverage on this, especially with the amount of press that this is getting around, a very, very popular, famous at this point, individual in the, conservative Republican community. So it will very much be, I'm pretty sure this will go as far as it can possibly go. A lot of details will come out. There could be more conflicting details come out. So who's to know on that? If I get any more information or anything that's interesting or adds something to it, I will give you an update. So thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, until next time, peace. This is Clear Talk. With love, I'm out.